In the bustling city of Lagos, a hard-working single mother named Charity lived with her daughter, Uduak. They shared a small but cozy apartment in a tall building. Their home wasn't big, but it was full of love and warmth. Charity worked as a secretary in a busy office, and her days were long and tiring. But no matter how exhausting her job was, she always made time for Uduak. Welcome to AfroTales TV, your home for rich, exciting, and inspiring stories from around the world. Today's story will touch your heart and keep you hooked till the very end. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss any of our amazing stories. Uduak had just graduated from university, a big achievement that made Charity very proud. She had worked hard to support Uduak's education, saving every naira she could and often sacrificing her own needs to ensure Uduak had everything she needed for school. The two of them had always been very close, and Charity's love and support had helped Uduak reach this important milestone. One evening, after Charity came home from a long day at work, she found Anna sitting at the kitchen table, holding her graduation certificate. Uduak's face was lit up with a big smile. "Mom, look at this!" she said, waving the diploma excitedly. Charity came over and hugged Uduak tightly. "Oh, Anna, I'm so proud of you. You've worked so hard, and now you've graduated. It's a wonderful achievement." Uduak's eyes sparkled with joy. "I couldn't have done it without you, Mom. You sacrificed so much for me." Charity smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "We did it together. Now, we just have to keep moving forward." But as days turned into weeks, Uduak faced a new challenge. Despite her graduation, she struggled to find a job. Every day she searched through job listings, sent out applications, and went to interviews, but the job offers didn't come. One evening, Uduak slumped onto the sofa, looking worried and tired. "Mom, I've been applying for so many jobs, but I haven't heard back from any of them. I'm really starting to get frustrated." Charity sat down next to her and gently placed her hand on Uduak's. "I know it's tough, Uduak. It can be hard to find a job, especially with so many people looking for work. But don't lose hope. You've got the skills and the education. The right job will come along soon." Uduak sighed and looked down at her lap. "I just wish things would get better. I want to help out and do something meaningful." Charity gave Uduak a reassuring smile. "You will find something, sweetheart. You've always been determined and hardworking. The right opportunity will come. It might just take a little more time." Charity's own heart was heavy with concern. Their apartment was small, and they had to be careful with their money. The bills were piling up, and Charity worried about Uduak's future. Despite their modest living conditions, she wanted to see her daughter succeed and have a stable life. One day, as Charity was making dinner, she noticed Uduak looking through job ads again. "Uduak, have you thought about exploring more job opportunities or reaching out to any of the contacts you've made?" Charity suggested. Uduak looked up, her face thoughtful. "I've been applying everywhere I can, but it seems like there are so many applicants for each job. I'm trying to stay positive, but it's hard." Charity nodded sympathetically. "I understand. It's a tough job market right now, but I believe in you. Keep applying and don't give up. Sometimes it takes a bit longer, but the right job will come." Uduak gave her mother a small smile. "Thanks, Mom. I'm trying to stay hopeful. It's just been really challenging." Charity was glad to see her daughter's spirits lifted, even if just a little. "You've got the right attitude. We'll keep hoping for the best. And remember, you're not alone in this. I'm here to support you no matter what." As the weeks went by, Charity and Uduak continued to support each other. They shared their hopes and worries, knowing that they were in this together. Even though Anna's job search was still ongoing, she didn't lose her determination. She kept applying to various positions and attending interviews, hoping that something would eventually come through. Despite all these challenges they faced, Charity and Anna remained hopeful. They knew that their bond was strong and that they had each other to rely on. Despite the uncertainty and the strain of Anna's unemployment, they faced each day with determination and optimism. One day, a wealthy and charming businessman named Mr. Victor started showing a lot of interest in their lives. He was a well-dressed man who drove a sleek, expensive car and always seemed to be in a good mood. Mr. Victor had a way of making people feel important, and he enjoyed visiting Charity and Uduak frequently. Mr. Victor would bring gifts whenever he came to their apartment. Sometimes he would bring flowers for Charity or sweets and small treats. He would stay for dinner and engage in lively conversations, always with a smile on his face. During his visits, Mr. Victor would often find a way to talk to Anna. He would compliment her on her education and speak highly of her future. However, Anna wasn't very fond of him. She felt uncomfortable around him and didn't like the way he always seemed to be trying to win her over. One day, after Mr. Victor had left, Charity and Uduak were cleaning up after dinner. Uduak looked at her mother with a curious expression. "Mom, why does Mr. Victor come by so often? He always seems so eager to talk to me." Charity sighed and took a deep breath. "Well, Uduak, Mr. Victor is a very wealthy and successful businessman. He's shown a lot of interest in our family, and he's been very generous with his gifts." Uduak nodded, still unsure. "Yes, I've noticed. But why does he want to talk to me so much? I don't really understand his intentions." Charity looked thoughtful. "Mr. Victor has mentioned several times how he could help us if you agree to marry him. He's made it clear that he can provide a comfortable life for us." Uduak's eyes widened in surprise. "Marry him? Mom, that's so sudden. I don't even know him well, and I'm not interested in getting married right now." Charity put her hand on Uduak's shoulder. "I understand, sweetheart, but think about it. Mr. Victor is offering us a chance to live a better life. He's promised to take good care of us, and that means you won't have to keep searching for a job." Uduak looked conflicted. "I know it sounds like a good opportunity, but I don't want to marry someone just because it will make our lives easier. I want to find a job on my own and make my own way." Charity smiled gently. "I appreciate that, Uduak. I do. But I also want you to think about the future. We've been struggling, and this could be a chance for us to have a more comfortable life. Mr. Victor is a kind man, and he really seems to care about us." Uduak sighed. "I'll think about it, Mom, but right now I just want to focus on finding a job." That evening, Charity made a special dinner, something she hadn't cooked in a while. She wanted it to be a nice surprise for Uduak. When Uduak came home, she was tired from another long day of job searching, but she was pleasantly surprised to see a delicious meal set on the table. Charity smiled warmly. "I made your favorite dinner tonight, Uduak. I thought we could have a nice meal together and talk." Uduak sat down at the table and began to eat. "This is wonderful, Mom. Thank you. I'm really hungry after today." Charity looked at Uduak with a thoughtful expression. "Uduak, there's something I need to talk to you about. I know you've been working hard to find a job, and I admire your determination. But Mr. Victor has made me an interesting offer." Uduak raised an eyebrow. "An offer? What kind of offer?" Charity took a deep breath. "He's been very clear that he can offer us a better life. He's expressed his interest in marrying you and has promised that if you agree, he will provide us with financial security. He says you won't have to worry about looking for a job or struggling anymore. He can change our lives for the better." Uduak's fork paused mid-air. "Wait, are you saying that Mr. Victor wants to marry me to help us?" Charity nodded. "Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. He's very serious about this. He believes that marrying him would solve many of our problems and give us a comfortable future." Uduak put her fork down and looked at her mother, feeling overwhelmed. "Mom, I don't know what to say. This is all so sudden. I've been focused on finding a job and now you're telling me about marriage." Charity reached across the table and took Uduak's hand. "I know it's a lot to take in. I just want you to consider it. Mr. Victor is offering us a chance to have a more stable and comfortable life. He's promised that if you agree to marry him, he will make sure we live well and won't have to struggle." Uduak looked thoughtful, her mind racing with the implications of her mother's words. "I appreciate what you're saying, Mom, and I understand that this could be a good opportunity for us, but I need some time to think about it. I don't want to rush into anything. Charity nodded understandingly. Of course, take all the time you need. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of the offer and the potential benefits. I'm here to support you, whatever you decide. Uduak thanked her mother and finished her dinner in silence, her thoughts consumed by the unexpected proposal. She knew her mother was only trying to help, but she felt conflicted. The idea of marrying someone she barely knew, just for the sake of a better life, was a lot to process. As Uduak cleared the table, Charity looked on with a mixture of hope and concern. She had promised Mr. Victor that she would talk to Uduak and convince her. She saw this as a potential opportunity for Uduak to secure a comfortable future, because that is all she cared about. The evening ended. Meanwhile, Charity hoped that Uduak would see the potential benefits of the offer and make a choice that would bring them both a better life. The morning sun filtered through the small windows of the apartment, casting a soft light on the modest furniture. Charity was already awake, her mind preoccupied with thoughts of the conversation she had with Uduak the night before. She had hoped that her daughter would see reason and consider Mr. Victor's proposal as a golden opportunity for a better life, but the uncertainty in Uduak's eyes had left her feeling restless. As the smell of breakfast filled the air, Anna walked into the kitchen, her hair still a bit messy from sleep. She greeted her mother with a soft, "Good morning, Mom," but there was a tension in the air that neither of them could ignore. Charity served Uduak a plate of food and sat across from her at the small kitchen table. She hesitated for a moment, then decided to bring up the subject that had been on her mind since last night. "Uduak," Charity began, her voice calm but serious, "have you thought about what I told you last night? About Mr. Victor and his proposal?" Uduak looked down at her plate, pushing the food around with her fork. She had indeed thought about it, but the more she did, the more she realized how much she disliked the idea. Finally, she looked up at her mother and took a deep breath. "Mom, I've thought about it, but I don't think marrying Mr. Victor is the right thing for me," Uduak said carefully. "I want to keep looking for jobs. I don't want to be under a man who thinks we can't make it on our own. And to be honest, I don't even love Mr. Victor." Charity's expression changed in an instant. Her eyes narrowed, and her voice, which had been calm just moments before, turned sharp. "Uduak, you and I will have serious problems if you don't marry Victor," she said, her tone filled with anger. "After everything I have done for you, this is how you want to pay me back? You don't want our destiny helper to help you because of your stubborn attitude?" Uduak was taken aback by her mother's sudden outburst. She had never seen her mother so upset, and it made her feel even more conflicted. But she knew she couldn't just give up on her dreams without a fight. "Mom," Uduak replied, trying to stay calm, "I have dreams. I want to build my own company someday. I don't want to be a housewife. And to crown it all, I don't even like Mr. Victor. How can I marry someone I don't love?" Charity's eyes flashed with frustration. "You're talking about dreams, but dreams don't put food on the table," she shouted. "You think it's easy out there? Victor is offering you a life that people only dream of, and you're turning it down because you want to build your own company? You're being selfish, Uduak. You're thinking only about yourself, not about the sacrifices I've made for you." The argument between mother and daughter grew more intense, each word sharpening the divide between them. Uduak's heart ached as she listened to her mother's angry words, but she couldn't bring herself to agree to something that felt so wrong. Finally, Charity stood up from the table, her hands shaking with anger. "If you don't marry Victor," she said, her voice trembling, "I will disown you, Uduak. Do you hear me? You'd better get ready because I've already fixed a date for when I'll hand you over to Victor. I'm doing this for your own good, even if you don't see it now." Uduak sat in stunned silence as her mother's words sank in. Disown her? Could her mother really mean that? Charity had always been her source of strength, the person she could rely on no matter what. But now it seemed that their bond was being torn apart by this impossible decision. I'll do it, Mom," Uduak finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But only because I don't have a job and no other choice. Please understand that I don't love him and I don't want this." Charity's expression softened slightly, but the tension in the room remained thick. "You'll see, Uduak," she said, her voice quieter now. "Once you're married, you'll realize that this is the best decision for both of us. Victor will take care of you, and you won't have to worry about anything anymore." Uduak nodded, but her heart wasn't in it. She had agreed to marry Mr. Victor, but every part of her was screaming that it was a mistake. Still, what choice did she have? Without a job, she felt trapped, and her mother's determination left her with no room to argue. As the day wore on, Anna's thoughts were consumed by the argument with her mother. Charity, meanwhile, was already making plans to bring Uduak and Mr. Victor closer together. She arranged for them to go on dates, hoping that the more time Anna spent with him, the more she would warm up to the idea of marriage. But Uduak was only playing along. Each time Victor took her out, he would shower her with gifts, clothes, jewelry, even a new phone. He was always polite and charming, but Uduak couldn't shake the feeling of discomfort that settled over her whenever they were together. Victor would talk about his business ventures, his plans for the future, and how he could make Uduak's life easier. But Uduak's mind was always elsewhere, thinking about her dreams, her desire to build something of her own. She would nod and say, "Thank you," but she never really engaged in the conversations. She just wanted to get through the dates and return home as quickly as possible. Victor noticed Uduak's lack of enthusiasm, but he believed that with time, she would come to appreciate everything he was offering. Charity, too, was confident that Uduak would eventually come around. She continued to arrange more dates, hoping that the repeated exposure to Victor's wealth and generosity would change her daughter's mind. But Uduak remained distant, going through the motions but never truly connecting with Victor. Each outing felt like a chore, a reminder of the life she was being forced into. She smiled politely, said all the right things, but her heart was never in it. All she could think about was when she would be back in the safety of her own home. The tension between mother and daughter grew with each passing day as Uduak struggled with the reality of her situation. She felt like she was losing herself, her dreams slipping away with every forced smile and polite thank you. Charity, however, saw only the potential for a better life and continued to push Uduak toward the marriage, believing that it was the best choice for their future. And so, the days went on, with Uduak playing the part of the obedient daughter, even as her heart longed for something more. As days turned into weeks, Uduak's life became a blur of uncomfortable outings with Mr. Victor and increasingly tense conversations with her mother. Charity was more determined than ever to see her daughter married off to the wealthy businessman, convinced that it was the only way for them to secure a better future. One morning, as Uduak prepared to go out on yet another date with Mr. Victor, she couldn't help but feel a deep sense of dread. She stood in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection, and wondered how her life had come to this. The dream of building her own company seemed to be fading away, replaced by the harsh reality of a life she didn't want. When Uduak walked into the living room, Charity was there, waiting with a smile. "You look beautiful, Uduak," she said, her eyes filled with pride. "I'm sure Mr. Victor will be very pleased." Uduak forced a smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks, Mom," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'll be back later." As Uduak left the apartment, her mind was filled with thoughts of the argument she had with her mother just a few weeks earlier. The memory of Charity's harsh words still stung, but Uduak knew there was no turning back now. She had agreed to marry Mr. Victor, and that was the path she was on, whether she liked it or not. The date with Mr. Victor went as expected. He took Uduak to a fancy restaurant, ordered the most expensive dishes, and spent the evening talking about his business and how he could provide for her. Uduak listened politely, nodding at the right moments and thanking him for the gifts he had brought along. But no matter how hard she tried, Uduak couldn't bring herself to care about the things Victor was saying. She didn't love him, and the idea of spending the rest of her life with him filled her with a sense of hopelessness. Victor, unaware of Uduak's inner turmoil, continued to shower her with compliments and gifts, convinced that he was winning her over. He was a man who was used to getting what he wanted, and he believed that Uduak would soon come to see things his way. After the date, Victor drove Uduak home, and as they reached the apartment building, he turned to her with a smile. "I had a wonderful time today, Anna," he said, his voice warm and sincere. "I'm looking forward to our future together." Uduak forced another smile and nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Victor. I appreciate everything you've done for me." Victor reached out and gently took her hand. "Please, call me Victor. We're going to be spending the rest of our lives together after all." Uduak felt her heart sink at the words, but managed to keep her expression neutral. "Okay, Victor." Victor's smile widened. That night, Uduak sat in her room lost in thoughts. She can't let her dream die because of a man she barely knew. She made up her mind to go back to her job hunting. After a week, she received a call from a company that she applied for few months back. Happily, she accepted the job and started working without her mother and Victor's consent. Uduak had finally landed a job despite Victor's insistence that she shouldn't work once they got married. It was a job at a big, prestigious firm where she worked as a secretary. Uduak was excited about this new chapter in her life, feeling a sense of accomplishment and independence. She wanted to build something for herself, and this job was her first step towards that dream. However, Victor was not pleased at all. He had made it clear from the beginning that he didn't want Uduak to work. "When we get married, you won't need to work," Victor had told her, trying to convince her to stay at home. But Uduak wasn't interested in a life where she had to depend entirely on a man. "Why shouldn't I work?" she asked him, her tone firm and determined. "I want to build something for myself." Victor couldn't understand why Uduak was so insistent on working. He thought he was offering her an easy life, but to Uduak, it felt like a cage. She wanted to be more than just a wife. She had dreams of her own, dreams that she wasn't willing to give up for anyone, not even for Victor. As Uduak settled into her new job, she began to distance herself from Victor. The nature of her work kept her busy, and she found herself not answering his calls as often as before. Victor, on the other hand, was growing increasingly frustrated. He didn't like the fact that Uduak wasn't paying him the attention she used to. It made him feel like he was losing control over her. One evening, after a long day at work, Uduak returned home to find Victor sitting in the living room with her mother, Charity. The moment he saw her, he sprang to his feet and started shouting. "Why haven't you been answering my calls, Uduak? What kind of behavior is this?" Uduak, surprised by his sudden outburst, tried to explain. "Victor, I've been busy at work. I don't always have time to answer my phone." But Victor wasn't satisfied with her answer. "You should quit that job," he demanded. "I've told you before, I don't want my wife working. I can take care of everything." Uduak took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "I can't stop working, Victor," she replied firmly. "I want to build something for myself. I don't want to depend on anyone." Victor, feeling his control slip away, started to boast about how much he could provide for her. "Do you know how many women would be grateful to have what I'm offering you? You should be thankful." Uduak didn't flinch. "Victor, this is not about money or what you can give me. This is about my dreams and my future." Realizing that Uduak wasn't going to change her mind, Victor turned to Charity, hoping she could persuade her daughter. He began to threaten her, saying things that made Charity worried. Charity, who had always believed that marrying Victor was the best thing for Uduak, started to pressure her even more. "Uduak, you have to quit this job," her mother insisted. "Victor gives us a lot of money. Why do you need to work? Just listen to me and do as I say." Uduak refused, standing her ground. But the tension between her and her mother was growing, and it was clear that Charity wasn't going to give up easily. One morning, after Uduak had gone to work, Charity decided she had to do something drastic. She was determined to make Uduak quit her job, even if it meant causing a scene. Without telling Uduak, she went to her workplace. When Charity arrived at the firm, she didn't hold back. She walked straight to the receptionist and demanded to speak to Uduak's boss. Once she was in the office, Charity started creating a mess. She accused Uduak of being irresponsible and even went as far as lying, saying that Uduak had been sacked from her previous job for stealing company gadgets. Uduak, who was called into the office, was shocked and humiliated. "Mom, what are you doing?" She tried to push her mother away, but Charity refused to leave. "You have to stop working, Uduak!" Charity shouted in front of everyone. "Victor takes good care of us. Why are you trying to destroy everything?" The damage was done. After Charity left, Uduak's boss called her into his office. "I'm sorry, Uduak," he said, shaking his head. "We can't have someone like you working here. We don't want any trouble in our firm." Uduak's heart sank as she was told to leave the company. She went home, tears streaming down her face, feeling utterly betrayed by her mother. "Why did you have to destroy my career?" she cried when she saw Charity. "Is it because I don't want to do what you say?" Charity, unfazed by Uduak's tears, simply replied, "Victor gives us a lot of money, Uduak. Why do you need to work? Just stop all this nonsense." Uduak was devastated. She wanted to leave the house, but she had nowhere to go. She felt trapped, with no choice but to stay. Days passed, and Uduak tried to find some peace within herself. She knew she had to do something, but with no job and no support, she felt hopeless. That was until a friend came to visit her one afternoon. "Uduak, I heard what happened at your workplace," her friend said sympathetically, "but I think I might have found something for you." She handed Uduak a business card. "It's for a nanny job. You'd be taking care of a rich man who is paralyzed. He can't move, but he can see and hear. It's not the easiest job, but it might be what you need right now." Uduak looked at the card, feeling a glimmer of hope. "Thank you," she said, holding the card tightly. The next day, Uduak called the number on the card and arranged an interview. The job was with a wealthy family, and she would be taking care of a man named Abel. His mother explained the situation to Uduak. "Abel had an accident a few years ago, and he hasn't been able to move since then," she said. "He needs someone to take care of him, someone who can be patient and kind." Uduak felt a pang of sadness for Abel, but she was also grateful for the opportunity. She accepted the job and started working the next day. Uduak quickly adapted to her new job. Taking care of Abel was challenging, but she found comfort in the work. Abel's mother showed her what to do, and Uduak did everything with care and dedication. Abel rarely spoke, and most days, he just watched her as she went about her tasks. Uduak often wondered what he was thinking, but she didn't press him to talk. She simply did her job and tried to make his life as comfortable as possible. One day, after Abel had been rushed to the hospital for one of his frequent health crises, Uduak sat by his bedside, waiting for him to wake up. When he finally opened his eyes, he looked at her and, to her surprise, spoke for the first time. "Thank you," he said, his voice weak but clear. Uduak was shocked. "You can talk?" she asked, her eyes wide with surprise. Abel nodded slowly. "Yes," he replied, a faint smile on his lips. "I just haven't had much to say until now." Uduak smiled back, feeling a warmth in her heart. "I'm glad you're okay," she said softly. From that day on, Abel started talking more, and Uduak found herself enjoying their conversations. She was beginning to feel comfortable in her new job, finding a sense of peace that she hadn't felt in a long time. Meanwhile, her mother and Victor had no idea that she was working again. And for the first time in a long time, Uduak felt like she was in control of her own life. Uduak thought she was safe, keeping her job at Abel's house a secret from her mother and Victor. But it wasn't long before Charity and Victor began to grow suspicious. They noticed that Uduak often left the house and returned late, and they couldn't figure out where she was going. They decided to follow her one day, secretly tracing her steps. When they discovered that Uduak had been working as a caregiver for a sick boy named Abel, Charity was deeply troubled. Why would Uduak take such a job when she has a rich man ready to marry her? Charity wondered aloud, shaking her head in disbelief. Victor was furious. He couldn't understand why Uduak would choose to work in someone's house, instead of preparing to be his wife. He decided it was time to take matters into his own hands. One evening, as Uduak was resting after a long day at work, Victor came to her house with her mother. They sat her down, and Victor pulled out a small box from his pocket. Inside was a shiny ring. "Uduak," Victor began, kneeling in front of her, "I want to marry you. You don't need to work or worry about anything. I can take care of you." Uduak stared at the ring, feeling no excitement, only a sense of dread. She knew Victor was trying to buy her love with money, but she couldn't let herself fall into that trap. "Victor, I can't marry you," she said firmly. "I don't love you, and I can't marry someone who wants to control my life." Charity, seeing that Uduak was about to refuse the proposal, grew desperate. "Uduak, if you don't accept this ring, you will have to leave my house immediately," she threatened, hoping to scare Uduak into agreeing. Uduak's heart ached at her mother's words, but she couldn't let fear dictate her choices. With trembling hands, she gently pushed the ring away. "I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't do this. I won't marry someone just because they have money." True to her word, Uduak went inside, packed her belongings, and left the house. She had nowhere else to go, so she headed straight to Abel's house. When she arrived, she found Abel resting in his room. Seeing the sadness in her eyes, Abel asked, "Uduak, what's wrong? You look troubled." Tears welled up in Uduak's eyes as she explained everything that had happened. "My mother and Victor want to force me to marry him, but I can't. I don't love him, and he only wants to control me." Abel listened quietly, his heart heavy with sympathy. "I didn't know you were going through so much," he said softly. "You did the right thing, Uduak. No one should be allowed to dictate your life. You're strong for standing up for yourself." Feeling comforted by Abel's words, Uduak smiled weakly. "Thank you, Abel. I don't know what I would have done without you." From that day on, Uduak stayed at Abel's house, continuing to care for him as she had before. As time passed, Uduak became more comfortable living in Abel's house. She found peace in her new life, far from the pressures of her mother and Victor. One day, Abel's mother informed Uduak that they would be traveling out of the state for Abel's surgery. "Abel's condition has improved, but he needs surgery to help him walk again," she explained. "We'll be gone for a few months, but we trust you to take care of the house while we're away." Uduak nodded, grateful for their trust. "Of course, I'll take care of everything here." Before they left, Abel's mother offered Uduak a new opportunity. "When we return, we'd like you to work for our company. You've been so dedicated to Abel, and we believe you'll do well with us. You can stay in our house for as long as you want." Uduak was overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you so much. I'll do my best." With Abel and his mother gone, Uduak focused on taking care of the house and adjusting to her new role at their company. She worked hard, determined to prove herself. Months passed, and one day, Abel returned home from his surgery. He looked healthier and stronger than before, and to Uduak's surprise, he was able to walk on his own. "Abel!" Uduak exclaimed, running to him as he walked through the door. They hugged tightly, both feeling a deep sense of joy and relief. "Certainly. Here's the revised version with Anna changed to Uduak." "Thank you for everything, Uduak," Abel said, his voice full of gratitude. "I couldn't have gotten through this without you." Uduak smiled warmly, happy to see Abel doing so well. "I'm just glad you're okay." Their bond grew stronger and they became closer as time went on. Years passed and Uduak's life continued to improve. She had found a place where she was valued and respected, and her relationship with Abel deepened into a close friendship. But one day, something unexpected happened. Charity, Uduak's mother, found out where her daughter was staying. She arrived at Abel's house, tears streaming down her face. "Uduak, please forgive me," she cried. "I was wrong. Victor wasn't the man I thought he was. He was a ritualist, and he was looking for someone to use for his evil plans. That's why he was spending so much money on us. I heard he was killed in his apartment a few months after you left." Uduak was shocked by the news. She listened quietly as her mother continued. I didn't know, Uduak. I was just trying to secure a good life for you, but I see now that I was wrong. Please forgive me. Uduak looked at her mother, her heart filled with mixed emotions. Mom, she began softly, I've already forgiven you. You're my mother, and I can't hold on to anger forever. Charity was relieved and hugged Uduak tightly. Thank you, my daughter. I'm so sorry for everything. Uduak nodded, feeling a sense of closure. She had moved on from the past, and she was ready to embrace the future. As time went by, Uduak and Abel grew even closer. Their friendship blossomed into love, and they both realized that they were meant to be together. Abel proposed to Uduak, and this time she accepted with a heart full of joy. They got married in a small, beautiful ceremony, surrounded by the people they loved. Abel's mother was overjoyed to see her son happy and healthy, and Uduak's heart was filled with gratitude for the life she had built. Uduak and Abel lived happily ever after, proving that love, patience, and forgiveness can lead to a life filled with joy and fulfillment. This story teaches us that it is important to stand up for ourselves and make our own choices, even when others try to control us. Uduak didn't let anyone force her to do something she didn't want to do. She knew what was best for her and followed her heart. The story also shows us the power of forgiveness. Uduak forgave her mother, even after she tried to control her life. Forgiving others helps us to find peace and move forward. Lastly, the story reminds us that true love is not about money or control. It's about caring for each other and being kind. Thank you for watching this story on AfroTales TV. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and share with friends and family. We have more beautiful stories coming your way, so subscribe and stay tuned. See you in the next one.